Imagine a world where almost 300 years of history simply vanish. This is the startling premise of the phantom time hypothesis, a controversial theory that has sent ripples through the academic world and beyond. The hypothesis suggests that the period from 614 AD to 911 AD, a significant chunk of the early Middle Ages, never actually happened. Instead, proponents argue, this period is a carefully constructed fabrication inserted into the historical record for reasons unknown. The implications of this theory are profound. If true, it would mean that much of what we believe about this era, from the reign of Charlemagne to the rise of the Vikings, is based on falsehoods. It would challenge our understanding of history, religion, and even our place in the grand scheme of time. But how could such a monumental fabrication be possible? And what evidence is there to support such an audacious claim? To answer these questions, we must delve into the mind of the man who first proposed the phantom time hypothesis, and examine the arguments he presents in its favor. The phantom time hypothesis is the brainchild of Heribert Illig, a German publisher with a background in history. In the early 1990s, Illig began to question the accepted timeline of the Middle Ages, intrigued by what he perceived as inconsistencies and gaps in the historical record. He proposed that these discrepancies were not merely errors or omissions, but rather evidence of a deliberate manipulation of history on a grand scale. Illig's theory hinges on a bold accusation that a powerful trio consisting of Pope Sylvester II, Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, and possibly even Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII, conspired to fabricate almost 3 centuries of history. Their motive, Illig suggests, was to legitimize Otto III's reign by placing it at the year 1000 AD, a symbolically significant date that would solidify his power and legacy. This alleged conspiracy, Illig argues, involved the creation of fictitious historical figures, the alteration of existing documents, and even the manipulation of architectural styles to fit their fabricated timeline. While this may seem like the plot of a Dan Brown novel, Illig maintains that his theory is grounded in historical analysis and logical deduction. Illig points to several pieces of evidence that he believes support his phantom time hypothesis. One of his key arguments centers on what he perceives as architectural gaps in the historical record. He contends that there is a lack of architectural development during the supposed phantom period, with buildings and monuments from the 7th to the 10th centuries displaying a surprising similarity in style and technique. This, he argues, suggests that these structures were actually built much closer together in time than conventionally believed. Another piece of evidence Illig presents is the relative scarcity of written records from the period in question. While it is true that the early Middle Ages were a time of upheaval and literacy rates were low, Illig argues that the paucity of primary sources is suspiciously convenient for his theory. He suggests that the lack of documentation makes it easier to conceal the fabricated nature of this period. Furthermore, Illig points to discrepancies between the Julian and Gregorian calendars, arguing that the 10-day correction made during the Gregorian reform in the 16th century should have been 13 days if the traditional timeline is accurate. This discrepancy, he believes, is further evidence of a manipulated chronology. Illig's argument about the calendar discrepancy is central to his theory. He meticulously analyzes the transition from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar, a pivotal moment in the history of timekeeping. The Julian calendar, established by Julius Caesar, had been in use for centuries, but had drifted out of sync with the solar year, leading to inaccuracies in the timing of equinoxes and solstices. To correct this drift, Pope Gregory XIII instituted a reform in 1582, removing 10 days from the calendar. However, Illig contends that this correction was insufficient. Based on his calculations, if the traditional timeline is accurate, the correction should have been 13 days, not 10. This discrepancy, he argues, is a smoking gun, revealing the presence of the phantom centuries. Illig's interpretation of the calendar reform has been met with skepticism from historians and astronomers alike. Critics argue that his calculations are flawed and that he misunderstands the complexities of calendar systems. They point out that the Gregorian reform was not simply about aligning the calendar with the solar year, but also about correcting for accumulated errors in the Julian calendar over centuries. Section 5. The Scientific Rebuttal. While Illig's theory may seem compelling at first glance, it has been met with widespread rejection from the scientific and historical communities. Critics point to a wealth of evidence that contradicts his claims, including scientific dating methods, a plethora of primary source documents, and archaeological findings that align with the accepted timeline. One of the most damning pieces of evidence against the phantom time hypothesis comes from scientific dating methods like radiocarbon dating and dendrochronology. These methods, which rely on the decay of radioactive isotopes and the analysis of tree rings respectively, provide independent verification of the ages of artifacts and organic materials. Numerous studies using these techniques have consistently dated artifacts and structures from the supposedly phantom period to the 7th to the 10th centuries, directly contradicting Illig's claims. For example, radiocarbon dating of Viking artifacts and settlements has confirmed their existence during the 9th and 10th centuries, a period that Illig claims never happened. Section 6. Echoes of the past speak volumes. Beyond scientific dating methods, the existence of over 7,000 original documents from the period in question poses a significant challenge to the phantom time hypothesis. These documents, ranging from legal texts and land deeds to letters and religious manuscripts, provide a rich tapestry of life during the early Middle Ages. While Illig argues that some of these documents may have been forged or altered, the sheer volume and diversity of the surviving records make it highly unlikely that such a massive fabrication could have been successfully carried out. The documents provide detailed accounts of events, people, and places that are corroborated by other historical sources, further solidifying the accepted timeline. For example, the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, a collection of historical records written in England, provides a year-by-year account of events from the 9th century onward, including the Viking raids, the reign of Alfred the Great, and the unification of England. These accounts are corroborated by archaeological evidence, such as Viking burial sites and Anglo-Saxon fortifications, further supporting the accuracy of the traditional timeline. Section 7. Beyond the Eurocentric lens. Another criticism leveled at the phantom time hypothesis is its Eurocentric focus. Illig's theory primarily relies on European sources and overlooks the vast amount of historical evidence from other cultures around the world. During the period in question, the Islamic Golden Age was in full swing, with advancements in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine that had a profound impact on the world. Similarly, the Tang dynasty in China was a period of great cultural and economic prosperity, marked by innovations in printing, gunpowder, and shipbuilding. The historical records from these civilizations, along with archaeological evidence and astronomical observations, align with the accepted timeline and provide no support for Illig's claims. The phantom time hypothesis, by focusing solely on Europe, ignores the interconnectedness of the world and the wealth of evidence that exists beyond its borders. This narrow focus undermines the theory's credibility and really highlights its limitations. Section 8. A resurgence fueled by mistrust. Despite the lack of credible evidence and widespread rejection from the academic community, the phantom time hypothesis has experienced a resurgence in recent years. This renewed interest can be attributed in part to the growing distrust in authority and institutions that has permeated many aspects of society. In an age of misinformation and online echo chambers, fringe theories like the phantom time hypothesis can gain traction, particularly among those who are predisposed to distrust official narratives. The internet and social media have provided a platform for these ideas to spread rapidly, often presented alongside other conspiracy theories that lack evidence. The resurgence of the phantom time hypothesis highlights the importance of critical thinking, media literacy, and relying on credible sources of information. While it is always healthy to question established narratives, it is crucial to do so with a discerning eye, examining the evidence and considering alternative viewpoints. Section 9. A captivating notion debunked by reality. The phantom time hypothesis, while undoubtedly a captivating notion, ultimately fails to hold up under scrutiny. The evidence presented by Heribert Illig is unconvincing and often based on misinterpretations of historical data. The scientific, archaeological, and documentary evidence overwhelmingly supports the accepted timeline of history, leaving little room for doubt. While the theory may continue to linger in the fringes of historical discourse, it serves as a reminder of the importance of approaching extraordinary claims with a healthy dose of skepticism. The phantom time hypothesis, though intriguing, remains firmly in the realm of debunked theories, a testament to the enduring power of evidence-based inquiry.